Hey, this is Josh. In this video, I'm going to break down the CSS position rule, and by the end of this video, you should know how to use all of the common CSS position values, including display relative, absolute, fixed, sticky, and of course the default static. I have some example HTML in front of me that we're going to use for most of this video, and so let me break down what's in this HTML. We'll talk about the styles and we'll dive into helping you understand how to use CSS position. Now, the first thing I have here is I have a wrapper and I have three boxes inside. One box happens to be highlighted. That's the one we're going to be positioning most often. And then I have a few paragraphs of lorem ipsum, and that's just to help us understand what happens when the page scrolls. We need some content to be able to scroll, so we're going to need that. Now, I also have some styles here, and there's nothing crazy going on. I'm just flexing my wrapper, and then each box has a height and width of 50 pixels, and then I have highlighted one. I've changed the border color and the background color so that you can see it very easily. Now, for this first one, by default, things are position static. And what essentially that means is that they're going to flow along with the document. We're not moving them around, or in fact, the only way we can move an element that's position static is through margin and padding. But as soon as we introduce this position property, then we gain the ability to have finite detailed control over the position of these elements. So first, let's look at position relative, because it's the one that's most like the default of position static. So I'm going to add position relative onto my highlighted box, and I'm going to also give it a top and left value of 20 pixels. Whenever you are using any of these position, whether it's relative, fixed, absolute, any of them, top, left, bottom, and right is most likely what you're going to do in order to position these or move these around. So I'm moving it from its initial position, top 20 pixels to the from the top of where it was, and I'm also moving it 20 pixels from the left of where it was. Now, what you'll notice with position relative is as we scroll, things are going to stay in place. So it's going to act very much like it would if it were position static. The only difference is that now you have finite control of how to move it around, and it's going to take up the same amount of space as it did originally. So you can see that the space that it once took up, it's still there. It's just moved around a little bit. Now let's look at another example. For this one, we're going to look at position absolute, and it's a bit different than position relative. I'm going to break down in a couple of examples exactly how and why to use position absolute. So I'm going to add position absolute onto my highlighted box, and I'm also going to add the same top 20 pixels and left 20 pixel rules. Now, the difference between this one versus the previous position relative is, as you can see, it's no longer taking up any space. The blue boxes that we've used have now moved together, and our position absolute is just positioned absolute to the actually to the document, to the body of the HTML. So absolute position will take it out of the flow. It's called taking it out of the flow of the document, and it allows you to move it around however you want. What you'll notice, though, is that as you scroll, it's going to stay wherever you put it. So I've positioned it top and left 20 pixels, and what that means is top from the top of the document, it's 20 pixels down, and from the left of the document, it's 20 pixels to the right. But that's not the only trick that position absolute has up its sleeve. Let's look at another way that we can use that. Now, in this example, we're going to use position absolute again, but I've changed my HTML to be able to demonstrate a very important concept. What we have is a wrapper, and we have a box inside that I've just called position me. It's the one we're going to be applying position absolute to. So let's go ahead and apply our position absolute to this box, and then we're also going to say top 20 pixels and right 20 pixels, or 20 pixels from the right. Now, it's doing the same thing it did on the last example, where it's 20 pixels to the right of the body. But if we want to contain it, let's say we want to give it a boundary like we're going to do with wrapper, then for our boundary, we're going to want to make that position relative. As soon as we add position relative in there, what you'll notice is that the position absolute is confined to those bounds. And now, instead of being 20 pixels to the right of the body document, now it's 20 pixels to the right of our wrapper. This is very important. If you want to absolutely position something inside something else, make sure that parent element is position relative, and this will work exactly like this. Okay, to demonstrate position fixed, we're back with our initial example where we're back to our 3 boxes. We've got one highlighted. We're going to apply position fixed to that highlighted box, and we're going to use the same top and left of 20 pixels. Now you'll notice the same thing that was true of absolute is true of position fixed in that it doesn't take up any space anymore. So our blue boxes have once again collapsed around the space where the yellow box used to be. And as we scroll down, you'll notice there's something different about this than there was with position fixed, because you'll notice that it actually stays tied instead of to the document to the browser window. This is an important part of position fixed. This is why you'll often see, if you see like a cookie banner or a modal or something like that, it will almost always use position fixed because it's tied to the user's window or field of view rather than the document itself. So if you need something like that, position fixed is probably your key. Now for our last example, we're going to look at position sticky. And in this case, we can't add it to our highlighted box because position sticky requires space to be able to scroll. It will not scroll outside of the space of its parent container. So in this case, if we have a parent container here, but the parent container isn't any bigger than those boxes, in that case, we're going to apply position sticky to our wrapper and see what happens when we scroll. Now it's not going to do anything yet because position sticky actually requires one more thing from us in order to be able to use it, and that's to tell it what to tie to, or what you have to scroll to in order to get the position sticky to engage. So we're going to say when the top of the wrapper scrolls to and meets the top of the window, it's going to stick. So let's see this in action and see what happens. Okay, great. So we get our position sticky. This is great for things like nav bars or things that you want to scroll along with the user's field of view. As soon as they try and scroll past it, it'll stay with the user. I hope this was helpful for you. If you liked this video and you found this helpful, please give me a like. And if you want more videos like this where I break these CSS, JS, HTML, and beyond concepts down, then make sure you subscribe to my videos and I'll bring you more videos like this every single day.